Thank you. Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. The time is now 5 o'clock, and the Montgomery County Board of Education um, our meeting is now in order. Let's call, I am Erica Walker Smith, the board chair. At this time, we'll call Reverend Keith Ellis from Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church to the podium for prayer.
Every head bow, let us pray. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou hast brought us thus far on the way. Oh, gracious God, we pause now, Lord, not out of routine, not out of reverence, not out of ceremony, but out of conviction. Because this moment is too complex for a simple solution, too fragile for flesh to figure out, too important to be shaped by politics, and too heavy to be handled without your hand. I pray today, O Lord, on behalf of the Montgomery County Board of Education, who have been entrusted to lead, challenged to decide, and commissioned to protect the future of over 25,000 students, thousands of educators and families who have placed their faith in this school system. And now, Lord, as they stand in the final phase of the final stretch of this phase, God, with only 2 names remaining, only 2 doors open, I ask that you, O God, would be their compass, their guardrail, and their guide. Remind them that this is more than just a position that has to be filled. This is a promise that has to be kept. A promise to our children that has leadership, that leadership still matters. A promise to this community that trust can be restored. A promise and a commitment to themselves that their decisions should not be shaped by pressure, but a conscience and grounded and anchored in truth. I pray today, Lord, as the board begins to make that decision, Lord, give them discernment that only your spirit can provide. Discernment that protects our children and puts the right candidate in the right position. Because we know that, Lord, without this decision being made, the right person in place, oh God, things will go lacking. And God, we don't want anything to go lacking as it relates to our children. And God, we ask now to breathe upon your people, the board here, oh God. Give them peace in their hearts with the decision that they have to make, oh Father. We ask that, oh God, that whenever the decision that's made today, that it be pleasing in your sight. This is our prayer today, oh God. Let the words of our mouth, the meditations of our heart be acceptable in our sight. Oh Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen.
Thank you so much. At this time, we ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance may be seated. Thank you. At this time, we are at approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
Madam Chair, I move that the agenda be amended prior to item 12. I motion a pause that the superintendent's search should be paused until the board has had an opportunity to engage in further deliberation.
There is a motion. Is there a second? It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by showing of hands.
I'd like to add something.
Okay, is it?
All right.
Well, we've already motioned and seconded and moved and seconded and
Okay.
all those in favor do so by showing of hands. All right, motion did not pass. Thank you. Our next agenda item is board president remarks. Before we begin, I ask that as graduation season is approaching, the next month our high school students will be walking across the stage. But I got a call from a parent who lost a student, so my remarks will be along those lines. I ask that we take a moment of silence to honor the lives of the students who will no longer walk across the stage at graduation, but whose presence will be symbolized by black ribbons placed on the backs of their chairs. These ribbons are a solemn reminder of lives cut tragically short, of futures unrealized, and the loss that reverberates through their families and their classmates and our entire community. The loss of a child is an immeasurable heartbreak, one that no parent should endure. To the families of these students, we want you to know that we see your pain, we grieve with you, and we remain committed to honoring your loved ones and keeping their memories alive. For our school community, this absence is felt not only in the empty desks and the quiet hallways, but in the dreams these students share with their peers, dreams of achievement, success, and the impact they hope to make in the world. Their loss is a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of our role in nurturing and safeguarding our children. And for the community as a whole, this loss is a call for action. Too many of our young lives are being taken, often due to violence, in places where they should feel safe. This is not just a school issue, this is a community issue, one that requires all of us, leaders, educators, advocates, neighbors, to work together towards a solution. It's time for the city and the county to come together with urgency to address the root cause of this violence and create environments where students can thrive. This means strengthening programs that provide mentorship, recreational activities, and mental health support for youth. It means prioritizing safety initiatives and equipping neighborhoods with a resource to deter crime. It means fostering collaboration between law enforcement, schools, and community organizations to ensure that our children feel protected and valued. Most importantly, it means listening to our young people. Their voices matter, and they have insights into what can make their communities safer. By building trust, investing in their futures, and addressing inequities, we can prevent these tragedies, and build a Montgomery where every child has the opportunity to grow and shine. Let us remember these students. Let us honor them through meaningful action that builds a safer, stronger community for all. Together, we can create a legacy of hope and change, one that ensures no more ribbons are added to these empty chairs. And I would like to thank Jamari Williams' mother for reaching out to me and asking me to express this on her behalf. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I
Yes,
have a point of order, please.
yes.
You had a motion and a second. You did not allow for debate.
And what's your recommendation?
Either we could start over and correct our error.
Is that the motion? I mean, is that what you're recommending?
That's my
Okay.
recommendation.
Um,
She did not ask for debate.
all right, well, there's a recommendation from Board Member Brown to have discussion on Mrs. Mitchell's motion. So is there any question about this? I mean, we can still pick, you want to pick up right here, since you brought it, and we can start right here. All right. All right, Ms. Mitchell.
All right.
She
Thank
asked if
you.
we could start all the way, but I said
Yes,
it's fine.
according to Robert's Rules of Order, when a motion is made and a second, there is debate. And being the maker of the motion, I should have had the opportunity to speak first.
Okay,
Okay,
well, this
thank
is
you.
your time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. as board members, I just want to say that it is truly imperative that we pause the superintendent's search due to the concerns that have been raised by the city, the county, and the broader community. This decision is far too significant for our students and for our city for us to move forward without the full confidence of the public. A pause will allow us the opportunity to have a little time needed for thoughtful deliberation. And we want to restore the trust in this process. As leaders, we need to listen to each other with a desire to learn rather than just to win. It is imperative, once again, that we need to model the behavior of positive conflict resolution because our students are watching and their future depends on it.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. Ms. Dr. Coleman?
I'm sorry, I will go ahead and speak. I wanted to speak, and I was going to save mine until later, but I think this is an appropriate time.
Let me
It-
just add real quick, we do have a time set aside for that if y'all, but the,
To this agenda?
Follows.
to this
Robert's.
agenda, yes, there is a time. for
Where's that, Madam
Excuse
President?
me.
But go
Madam
ahead, I
President?
just wanted to point it out, but go ahead, go ahead.
Excuse me, Madam President,
Yes.
a point of privilege. I just want to inform the board and remind the board that any discussions at this time should be in support or not in support of the motion that is currently on the floor to amend the agenda to remove the item 15C, superintendent selection.
And we're in discussion, and we only had 3. So the voices that we're hearing are honestly, so the other politicians can hear that they supported them. So if the purpose is just to hear 3 voices, I get it. This can take all night, but what
Ma'am,
they're
this will
doing,
not take all night. This
what
is
this
Robert's
is
Rules
doing
of
is
Order.
a shame.
So at this time, the board may continue with the debates regarding the motion that is on the floor.
The motion has been voted on, but I will allow for discussion.
Right. So the motion was voted on,
As I
but
order.
based off of
Heard.
Board Member Brown's recommendation to go back to the original motion that was on the floor regarding what Board Member Mitchell had moved, you allowed that discussion based off of that motion.
So, whoever made the motion, do you want to clean it up for us?
So you may continue with the debate. I
You may
believe Board
continue. It
Member
doesn't need
Dr.
cleaning
Coleman
up.
was speaking.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back to continuing with the debate.
Yes,
Gotcha.
ma'am.
If you don't mind, Madam President, I will just move with a point of order because Madam Attorney has just helped me understand that my comments will come later. Yes, I was in support of the amendment, but the point of order is that now that, are you going to take a vote again? You just, no, are you going to take a vote on the agenda again? On the amendment? Okay, and the only reason I bring a point of order is once the amendment failed, we needed to carry the original
Correct.
motion to pass the agenda.
Yes, Madam President, at this time, the agenda has not been approved, so we need to go back to approve the agenda. So the original motion on the floor was whether or not there was a motion to accept and approve the agenda as written.
Thank you so much, Attorney Powell. All right, so the first motion that was put on the floor, we'll just start over. We will start over for clarity and consistency. Is there a motion on the floor? Or should I go back? So there was a motion on the floor to approve the agenda with the amendment of removing item number 15C from the agenda. It was motion and second. Is there discussion?
And you guys just had the discussion regarding that amendment, and you guys voted, and that motion failed. So at this point, your the motion to the board should be, or you should be requesting a recommendation to motion to accept the approval of the agenda as it currently is.
Okay, and there, okay, does everybody hear that? Because I wanted to take care of the discussion part. All right, so there was a motion and a second. There has been some discussion. The motion failed. Now we're going back to the approval of the agenda. Thank you.
Madam President, I move that, our motion that we approve the original agenda.
All right, there's a
I second
motion
it.
to approve the agenda. It has been motioned and second. All those in favor, do so by showing of hands. All right, the motion passes. Thank you, Attorney Powell. All right. We do have board recognitions by Ms. J. Jones.
Good evening, Madam President, Ms. Wilson, and board members. It's always a pleasure to share some of the exciting news happening here within MPS. Now, to start, I want to publicly thank our school principals, Mrs. Fountain, Mrs. Goshen, and Mrs. Brown, and their respective schools are Park Crossing High School, Johnny Carr Middle School, and Macmillan Magnet Elementary for their IB announcement last night. All three schools are now designated as IB schools. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, I do see Mrs. Fountain here. Please excuse me, Ms. Fountain, if you'll stand and wave your hand. That's Ms. Fountain. Ms. Goshen. No, okay. Ms. Brown. We were really excited about that last night. In addition, we want to thank the board president, Mrs. Smith, Chairman Singleton, and Mayor Reed for their support as well. As we heard last night, having three schools designated as IB schools is another achievement for our MPS students. And again, let's give them a round of applause. Now, Madam President, tonight I'm honored to share that we have our middle school soccer champions. That would be Brubaker Middle School. And if we can have Brubaker Middle School to come up with their coach, we will gladly hear from them if they're here tonight. It looks like they are not. That's okay. But as you can see right here on the screen, this is our 2025 Brubaker Middle School soccer champions. And they played so well this year. And we're super honored and proud of all of their hard work on the field and in the classroom. Now, Madam President, we want to also take a moment to celebrate our schools and our school staff for all of their hard work and dedication as they are now engaging in their assessment testing. Parents, if you're listening, we want to thank you for ensuring your students are present and ready every single school day. And again, thank you, Madam President, for these board recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. At this time, we will have public comments, but before we call you to the podium, let me read a few rules for you. Requests must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday preceding the meeting date. Requests must have specified the nature of the business to be taken up with the board and the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific students or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or designee. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes. The board chairman has full authority to terminate the remarks of any persons whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended. When asked to stop speaking by the board chairman or is otherwise inappropriate, if a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, and/or off of MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. At this time, we do have, here. We have Reverend Ronald Davis.
To President Smith and Vice President POTUS, to the board members, we thank you for allowing me to come and speak on behalf of the ministers of Montgomery, the Montgomery Metro Ministers Union, and we are delighted to be here, and we want to say thank you for the laborious and tiresome work of pursuing a new superintendent for MPS. And I know that it has been a painstaking experience for you, and you've had to endure a lot of things that have been said, and certainly we sympathize, empathize, and we're here to say thank you for the work that you are doing. And we just believe that God is in control of where we are, but is not by division that we need to proceed. And the previous motion that was, I don't come in support of any one in regards to divisiveness. We don't come here in any kind of partisan position. We have various ministers here. I'd like them to stand. We represent over 100 churches all over the city. These are not 100 ministers, but we are concerned. We have seen heard the innuendos, and we have seen even right here a moment ago some sense of division. I don't know what's that all about. We're not here to take a political position, and it's not anything personal, but we do call upon this board. We call upon the mayor's office. We call upon the Chamber of Commerce. We call upon the leaders, the ministers, to stop all of the innuendos, stop all the insults, and let's come together. It's time out for what we are doing in regards to what message are we sending, in our community and in this country. People are calling and saying why there's so much fuss about the superintendent in Montgomery, and it ought not to be. If we are going to, and I was there last night at the presentation of the new programs, and I was proud, because of what we are doing. But what position that we find ourselves in now can overshadow any progress that we are making. We don't need this. We are not enemies. We have to do what we should do in working together.
Thank
And
you,
so my
Dr.
prayer
Davis.
is, that you are shielded by the voices and hear God's voice saying, fight on, work on, and do the best that you can. My prayer is, that supporters will appreciate you.
Reverend Davis,
Yeah,
I do
I
have,
understand. But we gotta come together. Please.
Thank you.
Please, let's delay. Yeah.
Thank you,
and
Reverend
reset,
Davis.
and let's move forward.
Thank you,
God
Reverend
bless.
Davis. I have to follow the rules apply the rules fairly across the board. but thank you. We have one person who has signed up for citizens' comments. I will read the expectations of that. Citizens may sign up for comments before a board meeting. Citizen comments must be on agenda items. Forms for citizen comments will be available 30 minutes before regularly scheduled board meetings. Agenda topics to be discussed must be identified on the form in order to speak. Individual citizen comments may not exceed 3 minutes. A total of 30 minutes are allotted for citizen comments. Communication must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to solve in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or designee. The board chairman has full authority to terminate the remarks of any persons whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when their allotted time has ended. When asked to stop speaking by the board chairman or is otherwise inappropriate, if a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat, out of the auditorium, and/or off of MPS property, depending on the level of disruption. The board reserves the right to remove all disruptive visitors from the meeting. A copy of the procedure for the Montgomery County Board of Education is available online at www.mps.k12.al.us. Thank you for your participation in our Montgomery County Board of Education meeting. At this time, we have Terrence Jones, who signed up for to speak.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I also want to echo the words that I've just said in terms of thanking you guys for the process that you went through to get to this point, as we've come to learn that a lot has taken place and a lot of efforts have been made to be inclusive and to give the public an opportunity to speak into the decision that's about to be made. As a father of 5 children and a pastor in the community, I also lead an organization, a nonprofit that has dedicated over 200 volunteer hours this year to helping our kids progress in their reading scores. And I would just like to say, on the 60th anniversary of the Selma to Montgomery March, there's something that we can learn from that situation if we allow ourselves. When John Lewis took 600 people across that bridge, it ended up in Bloody Sunday. 2 days later, Martin Luther King was about to cross that bridge, and something made him stop and turn around. I believe that was one of the greatest leadership exhibitions our country has ever seen. There were pressures on him to keep going. There were people who believed it was the right thing to move forward at that point, but he paused. And 2 weeks later, 25,000 people crossed that bridge in a demonstration that we still celebrate to this day. I know that some of your feelings are hurt by things that have been said. I recognize that the attempts that you have made have not been fully processed. And at the same time, I believe with all my heart that true leadership in this moment will cause us to pause, similar to Dr. King, so that we can move forward as a complete community without division amongst our school board and our stakeholders at large. To have a leadership position means we're going to be criticized, sometimes rightly and sometimes wrongly. And I just want to leave you guys, as I take my seat, with the words of Jesus as to how we can respond. In 1 Peter chapter 2, these are the words that it says, "For we were called to this because Christ also suffered for you, leaving an example that you should follow in his steps. He did not commit any sin, and there was no deceit found in his mouth. When he was insulted, he did not insult in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but he entrusted himself to him who judges justly. I pray that you guys would entrust yourself to God, that you would slow this process down so the community has the opportunity to put its full weight and support behind your process and the decision that is going to be made, because our children are at stake. There are no winners if our children lose and we move forward in division. So we beg you to slow down.
Thank you. Our next agenda item will come from Ms. Penn with, about Percy Julian Construction bid results.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
After a long-awaited period to see construction start for this project, I'm delighted to bring to you the Percy Julian High School bid tabulation and the supporting documentation for your review. So within your board packet, you should have both the architect and program management's recommendation to award the new Percy Julian High School contract to Doster Construction. And pending your approval, we will begin executing the DCM contract first thing in the morning between all parties. Any questions?
Are there any questions, comments? I tell you, I would like to thank Volker for hanging in there with us. This is exciting news for the community as well. A new school provides that safety that the parent I spoke of earlier talked about. So it changes things. So thank you all so much for your work, and we welcome Doster.
Yes, well, thank you for the opportunity. We look forward to getting it out of the ground and getting it built. So, thank you.
I'd like to say something, though. I want to thank you just for just the knowledge base, for meeting with us continually, taking us through step by step through the whole process. We didn't have that before, and it for me to have been here as long as I have, it's just welcome to have. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next agenda item will come from Mr. Chad Anderson, Carver High School Turf and Track Replacement bid.
Good evening, Ms. Wilson, Ms. Watkins-Smith, Ms. Portis, and members of the board. I submitted the certified bid tabulation for the replacement of the turf and track at Carver High School. We did have one bidder deemed non-responsive, if you saw that on your document, due to they forgot to put in their unit pricing for asphalt patching. And we consulted with DCM on that, and we awarded it to the next lowest bidder, which is Warner.
Thank you. Are there any questions, concerns, comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson. Our next agenda item will come from Dr. King on the graduation policy updates.
Good evening, Madam President, Interim Superintendent, school board members. My purpose today is just to update the board on policy 712 regarding graduation. Currently, our graduates have option A. However, with the new Alabama State Department of Education has implemented option B, which as a school district, we have 120 days to actually put a plan in and then actualize it. So today's purpose is just to share with you the policy itself. However, our team under Dr. Williams and our leadership is to then create the standard operating procedures that are impacted by all departments. But for today's purpose is just to share with you the graduation requirement, which would be option B. And to make the distinction, there's still both options require 24 credits, so that doesn't change. However, instead of 4 credits for science and 4 credits for math, for option B, students will have 2 credits of science, 2 credits of math. Then the increase would be in the CTE, which is preferably a completer, which is 3 credits. And we really want to focus on making sure students complete a CTA course, a pathway, so that they could be have employability skills. The second addition, instead of 2.5 electives in option A, you now have 6.5 elective credits that students will have to achieve. And again, given that there is a very competitive job market, I just want to remind or just for the sake of ensuring that our students take the right electives that will make them employable, that they also take CTE completer courses that will lead them to higher wage jobs. So even though option B, it's welcome in a sense, I just don't want to lower the standard in terms of what our students are going to be faced if they try to enter a job market by not taking the correct CTE courses. So this is going to rely heavily on our counselors to make sure that they're monitoring those students and their graduation progress reports so that we can make sure they're not only on track, but when they graduate, they are employable through this option B. So that's what I wanted to share tonight.
All right, are there any questions, Mrs. Cloud?
Thank you. Dr. King.
Yes, ma'am.
I was privileged to go to a meeting at LAMP
Yes,
with
ma'am.
Dr. Williams, and she presented to many of the principals, some of the central office. Is
Sure.
this the policy that we're talking about?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
just carries on, so this is firmed up now that
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
wanting to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, the board chair recognizes Mrs. Portis. Ms. Portis.
Dr. King,
Yes, ma'am.
on this option B, if a student chooses option B, right, and they decide they get to the 11th grade, but because option B is geared more towards CTE and going to work, the workforce, is that correct? And
That's
option A is
you
those that
can,
desire to go to
yeah,
college.
there's been, you can argue that this option, definitely option A is more geared towards college and career readiness. And then option B, some of if students choose option B, they may not make the criteria or the prerequisite to even enter a community college.
Yeah.
So it's important to acknowledge, that, yes.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. King. Our next agenda item is from Ms. Pamela Watkins, the February 2025 fiscal statement.
Good evening, Madam President Smith, Superintendent Wilson, board members. You should have before you this evening your financials for the month of February. In your report package, you will have an explanation of the financial data, which I'll talk a little bit about. You should have your snapshot analysis, which is a summary of the district's financials, and we'll look a little closer at that as well. You should also have your general fund balance recap, monthly budget percentages. This is the 5th month, which represents 41% of the school year. 41.67 is what we look for our expenditures to be at this point in time. We're in February. You should also have your monthly and annual comparative statement of revenues and expenditures. That represents the month-to-date and year-to-date expenditures compared to the same period last year in fiscal year 2024. You will also have a statement of cash flow, which represents the current month expenditures as well as our year-to-date expenditures. A visual cash flows and inflows, a visual of that. And then finally, the F exhibits, which represent the state reports from the State Department, where we upload our financials each month. I'm going to start with the explanation of financial data and just talk through that just a little bit. And on your snapshot analysis as well, you'll see that the general fund revenue collected in the month of February, or our general fund balance, I'm sorry, stands at approximately 131 million, which is an increase from last year at about 118 million. The difference in the revenue reflects that last year when we had those revenues, we created reserve accounts. And so that would have reduced some of those revenues that we moved to reserve accounts last year during this same period in time. The general fund revenue that was collected in the month of February was $38.7 million. However, we are required by the ad valorem to move about $17 million to the capital fund each year. In the month of February, 13 million of the 17 million was moved. The remaining will be moved over the next several months. So on our financial statement, when you look at the revenues for the month of February, you'll see $25.7 million. However, as I stated, we actually collected 38.7 and we moved 13 million to capital. As you continue to look at the snapshot analysis, again, you'll see that our expenditures as a percentage of budget for the month of February are approximately 41%. That means that we budgeted pretty much on target. Our revenues, total year-to-date revenues are 156 million. Our total expenditures are at 117 million at the 5-month mark. You'll also see a comparison of our local revenues, 19.7 million compared to 21.2 million or 3 million last year. Or I'm sorry, I got that flipped. 19.7 million for 2024, 21.3 million in 2025. The difference in that normally has to do with the collection periods of those revenues. And then again, you'll see that our general fund balance is about $13 million more than it was last year. If you flip over to the general fund breakout, this lets us know where the $131 million is. Although that money is in our general fund, it's not all accessible or discretionary. We have 6.9 million of it that is in transportation, so that means that those funds can only be used for transportation. You'll see that there's 3.4 million in our foundation and about 2.2 million that's allocated for charter, and then we have some appropriations that we've received in the fiscal year, and as well as some other funding sources that you'll see on here. These funding sources are specific to how they're labeled. We can only spend those funds in those particular funding sources for the reason that's been given to us by the State Department. And I think that's it.
Are there any questions? Thank you, Ms. Watkins. At this time, we will have
Madam
Dr.
Chair.
Oh.
Point of order. When I wanted to speak earlier and it was ruled out of order, you said to me that there would be something for me to speak to on the agenda.
Right. It's number, when we do at number 15C, or no, we'll open it up for discussion.
My comments were not related so much to approval of a candidate, but rather, as many of our speakers have already spoken to, the divisiveness, the culture, who we are, our relationships with each other, our relationships with our public. My colleague earlier said that I wanted to speak to show other elected officials that, I don't know, I was doing something to pacify them. This is not to pacify anybody that I wanted to speak to. But if I'm still out of order, I will respectfully wait. But I do not believe my comments are appropriate for item 15C.
Well, Dr. Coleman, I do thank you for bringing that to my attention. However, if that was something that you would have wanted, I would have liked to have known in advance, so I could have placed it on here. That's why we send the agenda out early. So if it's something you all want on the agenda, I can make sure to get that information to there. I do recognize your point of personal privilege to, if that's what you desire, to make your comments. I'm not objecting to it and saying that it's out of order, but I just wanted to highlight that perhaps with that item being on here, that maybe you would have wanted, it's up to you, to speak on it at that time, but it was not to not allow you to speak.
Okay, and to be honest, I probably should have spoken immediately after 6 and 7.
Yeah, that would have.
That probably would have been a little bit more because it's not an item for the agenda. They are comments that I knew I wanted to make.
Well, that board comments, I still could have added that on there if that was something you wanted. Whatever, I tell you all the time, I work at your pleasure.
Well, I thank you. So do I have the floor now? Yes.
If you'd like to use this as your time of personal privilege, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you. Fellow board members, I want to talk to us, even though I know we do have people in the audience. But I am concerned that there has been no shortage of negativity, negative rhetoric regarding this search, this process. My concern is that if we are serious about becoming the district that we talk about, that we so desperately envision, so that we desire, I think it is time for us to face some hard truths and that we must rise to the challenge. If we are to truly prioritize our students, their success, we have got to work together with clarity and with conviction. That means that we have to stay laser focused on engaging one another, as well as engaging our constituents, and engaging each other with purpose, with integrity, and yes, with a commitment to finding real solutions to what's happening with us. It also means that we have to be able to value our partners, our constituents, even in times of disagreement. There has been some talk about whether or not the voices of those persons who disagreed with us in our process were relevant to the process. The voices of our chamber members, our elected officials, our faith leaders, our parents, all are absolutely significant to the decisions that we have to make. These decisions are not the decisions of the 7 women seated here. They are decisions that we are making. We will raise our hands to vote based on the input that we have gotten from those voices. And it's important for us to recognize that the people that we have criticized for voicing concern, they do represent other constituents. They were also elected, as we were, by people in our broader community. And the decisions, or not decisions, but the information that they provide to us, those matters are significant to our social well-being, our economic well-being, and our policy priorities that we are basing our decisions on and that we're trying to make decisions about. Yes, their perspectives are relevant. They are essential to us understanding the systems that will drive our growth, our acceptance of equity, and the long-term sustainability of this district. Let us not forget that our elected officials do carry with them the voices of those people that they represent. This is how we build a governance process that serves everyone by listening to all of the voices. So, my colleagues, as we proceed with this meeting, I hope that we will all think long and hard about what we stand for. And I hope that we are standing, as we often say, for the children and the staff of Montgomery Public Schools. And let it not be rhetoric that we are a unified board. We don't need to say it in public if we're going to bash each other at this table and in the community. If we are going to be a community unified, let's not say words that we don't mean. Let us be a unified city, a unified board, and let us build a unified school district. Thank you.
Thank you so much. At this time, we'll have Mr. Joseph, who will do a presentation from HYA.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay, good to, I tell you, I am always excited to come to Montgomery, and I'm proud, to be honest with you, when I come to Montgomery. Proud as a as a black man in America whose mother grew up in Jewell, Georgia, in Jewell, Georgia, in the middle of the 1930s. Proud as a father of two students, one at Spelman College, one graduate of Howard University, now working on his master's at American University. Proud as a professor of educational administration and policy studies at Howard University. Proud as the director of the Urban Superintendent's Academy at Howard University, where we placed over 50 superintendents across the country who are doing well. Proud as a senior consultant for Hazard, Young, Attia, and Associates, the largest search firm in America, where we place over 100 superintendents a year.
And Dr. Joseph, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is your mic on?
It's green.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're saying speak louder. Speak louder, okay. So I'll just hold it, how about that? I'd say proud as a senior associate at Hazard, Young, Attia, and Associates, the largest search firm in America. We do over 100 searches a year, and we have been in business for 35 years. Just proud to be here because Montgomery is a place that has to get it right in education. And we have to get it right for children, because this is the place, as you said in your statement as we looked for candidates, right? This is the place where America should understand something about equity and excellence. And so that was the charge. So when the opportunity came to come have the opportunity to partner with you for this search, I raised my hand quickly and proudly because I felt like this would be a part of the legacy work that we all crave to do in life. So I'm pressing this button, and it's not working right now. So, magic though. All right. So when we put a team together for this particular search, we made sure we put our A team together. So we had with us Dr. David Lee, who is an associate with us, but he's also a very esteemed professor at the University of Southern Mississippi. He's been a deputy commissioner in the state of Louisiana, so a deputy state superintendent. He's been a superintendent, and he's been a board president in his time. And then we had Mishka Bibbs with us. Mishka was a board member for 8 years in Memphis, was the board president in Memphis, was the president of the city council in Memphis, Shelby County Schools. So, we made sure we put our A team together because we know here in Montgomery, y'all don't play. We got to get it. We must get this right. And we shared with you that we would do a national search, that we would look around the country, north, south, east, and west, to bring to you a slate of candidates that you would feel proud of, that could do the work, whatever this community said it wanted to do. We'd make sure we'd align and search for people, and then hold us accountable for finding those individuals. And so we work, we have over 140 associates throughout the country. And I think the secret to our sauce is we tap those folks as we're looking, once we know what the criteria of the work is. And because many of us come from many different places, I'm in the north, Dr. Lee is in the south, Mishka's in the south, and then we have our main headquarters is in Illinois. We tap left, right, north, and south to look for candidates that fit the criteria that a community seeks. So we came in January, and in January we met with the board and we talked with you to understand the desires of your organization. And we said, what's important for us is to facilitate a process. We don't select your superintendent. And all 7 of you could be assured that we never came and said, hey, we think this person's better than this person. We don't do that. What we do is listen deeply, try to understand the DNA of a community based upon the information that's provided to us, and present a slate that we hope aligns to what it is you say, whatever it is you say. So we started that conversation in January, and we came up with a long list and slate of things to do. Then our charge is, once we're clear about what it is we're looking for, because I've said to you over and over again, we don't start doing anything until we know what we're looking for. So people, we can put it up, people can apply, but until we know exactly what you're looking for, we won't begin calling anybody, because that would be putting the horse before the cart. But when we go out, we do go out to bring the widest range of candidates that meet whatever criteria that you identify. And then we have a selection process, and in that selection process, here, sorry, there it goes. In that selection process, we simply facilitate a process for you. And then once the process is done, we go ahead and can support with the transition work, because any superintendent can be successful if you have the opportunity to help them do so. Okay. Is this a hand click? Do I flip it? Okay, next slide. Yes. Okay, not a problem. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So over the course of about 2 months, we had a bunch of meetings, face-to-face meetings, Zoom meetings at various locations. We received emails from a number of constituencies. We met in the morning, the afternoon, the evenings, and we talked to a number of different community groups. We had a group of high school students, parents, certified staff, support staff, administrators, business partners, different civic groups, PTO entities. All, the board put together that list, and we went out and we listened to as many people as we possibly could. Next slide, please. So we had 17 focus groups and individually met with each board member for an hour, simply asking, what are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are you looking for in the next superintendent? What are the strengths? What are the opportunities? What are the characteristics? And we gathered all of that information. Next slide. In addition, we put a survey out and asked people to identify by their, what aspect of stakeholder are you in the community? And in that survey, we looked to see where are the similarities, where are the differences, what are people feeling? Next slide. And 991 people responded to that survey, with 40.7% being parents, 23.7% being teachers, and 16.8% of the individuals identifying as community members. Next slide. Based upon all of that information, and both Dr. Lee and I are qualitative researchers, meaning we listen deeply, we try to look for themes, we actually do some coding to identify. So based upon all of this information, what did the community of Montgomery say they were looking for in a leader? And we came up with 5 different characteristics that are unique to based upon what you said. And then we didn't just come and tell you this. We put it out to we came. I believe it was November 16th or something like that. We came and said, "Here, community, is this right?" So we didn't just say, "Here's what it is." We put it out, and then we asked you to give it a week or two. I think it was about a week to say, "Did we get this right?" And then we got I think maybe 1 or 2 people responded to that when we put it out. But what we believed to capture, because we want to make sure as researchers we got it right here, that you said you wanted a leader who was committed to achievement. Specifically, a leader who would improve achievement for all student groups in this city. You also said you wanted someone who had some financial acumen, a leader who would ensure that the dollars that you have here, which are precious, are spent wisely, and they had experience managing budgets before. You said you wanted a visionary, right? Someone who would see Montgomery Public Schools' assets, not all the things that are going wrong, but see the things that are going right, and help build upon them. And you said you wanted a leader who was willing to try new things and would be willing to innovate. You also said you wanted a leader who was community-oriented. I mean, we heard a lot through the interviews and the focus groups that churn was a concern here, that you've had a lot of different superintendents over time, and people don't tend to stay. So you said you wanted somebody who would be committed to the Montgomery community, committed to the children, and would stand the test of time and stay here. A leader who believed that Montgomery Public Schools, who believed in Montgomery Public Schools, and who would collaborate with parents and the greater community. And then you said you wanted an ethical leader, a servant leader, a leader who would lead through listening and who would respect everyone, who would collaborate, and a leader who was going to commit and be willing to stay. Once we locked in and you said this is what you wanted, and we put that out to the world to see, that's when we actually started going out and looking and recruiting people. And so next slide, please. And we had about 46 people that actually applied to the position. These are just people who put their names in, whether we recruited them or not, their name was in. And what makes us different as a firm is we don't just look at these people and say, okay, let's just give the board a list of 5 or 6 people and say, these are the people you should interview. We respect boards. We know you are brought in by the community, for the community, and you understand what you're looking for as a community. So we made it a point to make sure the board saw all 46 candidates that were submitted, because that's important to us. We talk about transparency. We don't want to hide anything. So we made sure you saw all 46, and in fact, 46 people did apply. Some that we recruited, some that just applied. But then what we do, because we're a firm, you pay us for our advice, we go through those 46 people, now looking through all of their materials, all their information, and then we look at those 5 things you said you wanted, a leader with ethics, a leader who can move student achievement, a leader who had financial acumen, a leader who would pay attention to the community, and the fifth one. Right. Next slide, please. And then, based upon those 46, I mean, we said, and we say to the board, we don't have a number. If there's just one person that fits that criteria, we'd say 46 people applied, but here's the one that aligns, unfortunately. And sometimes that happens. We happened to come up with 10 candidates that we thought aligned to what you said you were looking for. And like I said, north, south, east, and west, we had one person that came from Alabama, one person that came from New York, one person that came from Virginia, one person that came from Georgia, one person that came from Michigan, one person that was in Mississippi, one person that was in Florida, one person that was in Georgia, one person that was from Tennessee, and one person that was from Texas. So that was our list. 5 of them were sitting superintendents with at least 5 years of experience in proven result. 4 of them were deputy superintendents. 1 of them was a chief. So we felt pretty strong that we had and we do our vetting and search, and I'll talk about that, but when we presented that slate of 10 to you, we gave you as a board their titles, their resumes, all of their written recommendations. I paid for free a behavioral assessment that we usually charge for, but I said, you know what, for Montgomery, it's really important. I'm going to give it to you. So we gave a DISC assessment, D-I-S-C. It looks at your dominance, your influence, your steadiness, and your compliance. And it also looks at the motivations, because we said we got to make sure that the match is right as you're looking through this. So we gave you that for each candidate. And then we went ahead and did a search of we do a scan, a Google search, because Google has a lot of stuff now. So we go through all the candidates and we highlight all the Google things that we can find as you scroll through candidates. There's an option for you to actually have a social media audit. So if anybody's name ever came up on the internet, you can pull that. There's a cost for that because we do an outside company for that, like we do with the like we do when we do the background checks. But we gave you that information with those 10 candidates. And then we gave you a process. And this is where I appreciate this board, and this is why I was so committed. Because we sent you that, I guess, about a week in advance of those 10 candidates that we're recommending, but also the full slate of 46 candidates. And then we put them in tiers, because we said, here are our top 10 candidates. Here are some candidates that are decent, but there's some stuff we want to talk about them. They could do the job, they're qualified for the job. And then slate 3, where these are people who aren't qualified for the job. We shared that with the full board. And then we told you, you have the power, because this is your process. You can take someone from tier 1 because they're qualified, but there's some stuff that we talked about with these candidates, and you can move them up. And in a lot of districts, people do that. They move people, but we just say, if you pull somebody from tier 2 or tier 3, then as a firm, when we slate a candidate, if the candidate is not successful in 1 year, we have a money-back guarantee that we'll do your search for free if it doesn't work out. But if you pick somebody out of that, then we can't guarantee that. But it's your process, so we'd never tell you, no, you can't do that. So you didn't pick anybody from tier 2 or tier 3. You look at those 10 candidates, and then we gave you a statistical endeavor here where we asked each board member to rank candidate Sean versus Pam. Who's stronger? Pam. Now look at Sean versus, Charlie. Who's stronger? Charlie. So each board member took that individual exercise to go through each one of those 10 candidates, comparing each candidate to each candidate. We call that an Adelphi technique, They turned all of those into me, and then I created a spreadsheet and then made a copy and then gave it back to them to make sure, we got it right, to identify who were the strongest candidates as a collective here. And that's how you came up with your top 6 candidates. You talked about that. We had a situation where, as a firm, there was a candidate we didn't have a chance to speak to So we made sure we spoke to them to make sure if they were interested, because we heard there was a great candidate, but they were not interested in the process. So we ended up with those 6 that just came from the numerical numbers that you gave, that you accepted and moved forward. So that's how you got to your top 6 candidates when you came out and you voted for that. All right. Next slide. From there, with the top 6 candidates, we waited. You came out. We waited a day because you had sitting superintendents in the process and others in the process. So you wanted to give those candidates an opportunity to let their communities know it's about to come out national that we're going for a job, because it's very hard when you're a sitting superintendent, to go for a job. And you had 5 people that we recruited, 5 superintendents that we recruited, plus others, plus the other 5, who had to let their communities know. So those folks know. You waited a day, they let them know, and on that Friday, you announced that you had a 6. We required each one of the candidates to do a SWOT analysis on your district, meaning without giving you anything, looking at data, you want this job, go for it. Tell this community the strengths you see, the weaknesses you see, the opportunities you see, and the threats. And we told them to put together a 30-minute presentation to come in front of this board and community, present that, and then the board was going to ask them questions based upon the SWOT analysis, the resume, their TTI, any of the materials that they had that were, I commend you because I saw each one of you had copious notes on every candidate I have worked in this for a number of years, and I've not seen a board do their homework as deeply as you did, with questions, emails, highlighting. I saw Ms. Cloud had so many sticky notes on there. She made the sticky note company rich because all of the notes that you had on your piece. And I appreciated that because, again, I'm a researcher. I like people doing their work and asking questions here. So you had that process where all 6 candidates came in front of you, presented, and then after those presentations, you once again moved from those 6 candidates down to your top 3 candidates. When you got to your top 3 candidates, once again, we had them do another performance task, and we asked them to present to you and give to you the 100-day plans. So each one of the candidates gave you their 100-day plans to evaluate, and then you had an hour and a half, another meeting with them where you asked another set of questions all aligned to the leadership profile and the things you said you were looking for. Okay? Let me step back. When you got to your 6 candidates, all 6 of those candidates received comprehensive background checks. And let me talk about that. The comprehensive background check includes checking their finances. It includes checking to make sure their degrees, they actually got degrees like they said they did. It included checking their driver's record. It included their finances and checking their finances. And it was a comprehensive criminal background check, federal and state, to look to see if there was anything, if they did anything ever, it shows up on that report. And then we go a step further to say, do they currently have something against them? Because maybe they got something happening against them, but it just didn't show up yet. So the background checks that you paid for, that we do, also includes if there's something in court happening right now, so we could catch that. And everybody, all 6 of them were clean. So there is nobody in this process who has a criminal background record. There's nobody in this process who was accused and had a potential criminal background record. There's nobody in this process who has something in court right now as we speak. There's not. So that's clear. Now we got down to the 3, and then when we got to the 3 candidates, there was a conversation had. And that conversation was, because there was a situation where when you had the 6 candidates go through, the feed was not live. So it happened, I think we they held on, and then the feed came out like on a Saturday, and then the decision was made. So we said, well, that could be, somebody could think, somebody's hiding something or doing something. So there's a question: do you want to bring the 6 candidates back and do it again, or do you want to just bring 3 back, or are you in a position to just move forward with 2 candidates? And the collective decision was made to move 2 candidates forward. And so you move 2 candidates forward, and then those 2 candidates had a full day in your district, and then those candidates had an opportunity to answer questions that came from the public. And then they also did another presentation presenting their 100-day plans to the community formally. Though they had given it to the board in their second interview, we wanted the public to actually talk about it, for them to talk about it in that third interview. So that was done, which brings us here today. And I simply say that to say, you had one of the most thorough processes in the country. I would also say that you had a national slate. I told you the states they came from: north, south, east, west. You had 5 sitting superintendents in an open search. That's rare. I'll step back. So now we're here. On March 28th, I did get an email from a board member, Ms. Brown, asking about an article that was circulating or something that was coming about a particular candidate. And on the 28th, that same day, I did send a response back to the full board indicating, that there was a candidate who had a situation where he was superintendent, and in his district, that district was defrauded. That candidate was not accused of any wrongdoing, didn't do anything wrong, but it happened. As a 2-time superintendent, a lot of stuff happened in my districts that I wasn't accused of. I mean, any superintendent, when people sue a district, typically they sue the board and they put the superintendent's name on it because that's just how people sue. But the question becomes, and so it was the 28th that I was aware of that, March 28th, when I was informed of that. And the question that came up was, well, why didn't anybody know about it? Well, we don't know about a lot of things that happen with superintendents in districts because a lot of stuff happens. What we do know about is did they do anything illegal, unethical, immoral? And the answer to that is no. For all of the candidates that were in this slate, or we would have communicated that directly to the board and the community. So I just want to clear some of that up because I think it's important for a community as we go through a process. Again, we've been doing this for 35 years, and we got to get this thing right. And I think I have dealt with, in the political world, I've been a superintendent since 2012. So I know lots of things happen. And I've been married for a long time. I know to make a marriage work, you got to communicate. Communication is essential. And sometimes when communication, breaks down, folk get angry and say stuff about one another. But at the end of the day, you gotta fall back in love and make things work, because there's a bigger thing that's greater than us. And I think we're at this moment. I was an English major, and I remember reading this poem that said, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when most men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubts too, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hate, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet both triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to set a trap for fools, or watch the things you've given your life to broken and stoop and build them up again with worn out tools. Right? I think we're at a moment in Montgomery where you've got to stoop and build up again, and your tools are pretty worn out. I get that. Rudyard Kipling said that in his poem, If, for anybody wondering what the heck was that. Right? One of your favorite poems, yeah. So I mean, I say this to say, look, you're at a moment, and you have a tough decision to make. I think you've done your due diligence, and one of the things, the two candidates that you're left with are qualified. I mean, there's no are they qualified or not? They're qualified. The two candidates that are here do, and we communicated how we thought they aligned to your leadership profile. We'll continue to tell you, as we always tell you, this is your process, and we'll be here to support you at whatever you choose to do. But let's be clear, the process was rigorous, the process was open, people were aligned, there's nothing illegal, unethical with any of the candidates that we're aware of that anybody has ever reported on in anything that's substantiated. That's important, I think, for us to clear up here. Next slide. So, whenever that time comes that you decide to have a new superintendent, you're going to have to transition. Next slide. And regardless of who supports you with transition, some of the things that the next person will need to do immediately would be to provide a framework and develop a 100-day plan and how to transition. And in this moment, it's going to be really important to work with your full community, with your pastors, with your mayor, with your state representatives, with your chamber of commerce. Everybody's going to have to come back, because I had a chance to walk your schools, and I'll tell you, there's work that needs to be done. And I'll be the first to tell you, as someone who was Maryland State Principal of the Year, Superintendent of all these things, had one of the highest performing magnets in the state of Maryland. There's work that has to be done. So that person has to be locked in on what that work is. Right? You've got to build and strengthen board relationships and the board superintendent relationship. Any superintendent can be successful if the board works with them. The best of superintendents will fail if you're playing a bunch of games. That is just a reality, right? You will need to codify the superintendent's evaluation process. What's critical for those districts that move forward, and I can tell you, I study urban districts. The reason urban districts fail is because of a lack of focus, right? You've got to focus on focus. And the best way to focus a district is aligning the superintendent evaluation to those key performance indicators you care about. A superintendent shouldn't be successful if a district is failing. And in a lot of places around the country, that's the case. We continue to fail, and the superintendent continues to hang around, and there's no movement that happens. Right? And then the superintendent has to, everybody needs help. This work is hard. And so, you want to be connected to multiple entities so you can get the best thought, move forward, and do that stuff. So to conclude, I believe in Montgomery Public Schools. I really do. I told the board privately, and I'll say publicly, I said, of course I work for a firm, but I work, I do my stuff myself. I said, I will support you for free, whoever your superintendent is, whenever you have that superintendent. Because I see your passion. This is a place where education should work in America, and I think can work. Just stay committed. Don't get weary doing good. And there's wisdom sometimes comes with pain. I wish there was another way to get it. And what I would say is the pain that you've gone through is purposeful, and things are going to get better once this process is ultimately done. So know that I'm here. I'm here to answer. I'll happily answer any questions that anybody may have for me. But I wanted to take the time to just recap where we've been to kind of reset us in this moment.
Madam President, may I speak?
Yes.
I want just a couple things, if I may. First of all, you said it has been painful. It has. I thank you. I thank everybody for being here, because everybody that's sitting here, a good many of them needed to hear your very thorough discussion of how far we've come from January to now, the promise that we made these people. Not only did we make a promise, the only thing I could add, I'm going to say as a teacher, still a teacher, I'm going to give you a 98. You missed these 2 points,
Yes.
okay? Your 2 point, I think that the public needs to understand that your Delphi technique, you sat and said that you were a qualitative. Well, my dissertation was both qualitative and quantitative. I think you forgot to mention that the Delphi, which was a technique I did not know anything about. I'm somebody that learns by doing. That is a numbers thing.
Yes.
Numbers don't lie. You studied us as a board. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. One of our candidates said this. He said, when elephants fight, the grass gets hurt. And the sad thing is sitting in this room, I owe an apology to my board members. I owe an apology to the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I owe an apology to anybody that has said, or Doug Singleton, I owe an apology because we should have communicated. Had we communicated and if we worked as a team, we wouldn't be divided. You all studied us enough to know that we were already divided. That's the elephant in the room. And we have worked, and no matter how hard we worked or how much we've trained, we are together. And that numbers thing was an anonymous thing. I think the community needs to know it was anonymous. We didn't, the board members were anonymous. We had a rubrics. And we compared 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, all the way down to 10. Numbers don't lie. So you have to see the hurt that we feel, some of us feel. It's almost testing our integrity when you say something's predetermined. There's no way it could have been predetermined. I've prayed about this. I have a student out there, a preacher. One of my students that preaches in my class that spoke to us just 2 months ago is here. He didn't know me. He didn't tell me he was coming, but we talked in chapel last Thursday. And I was angry. And I said, Brendan, I call him Reverend Brandon, even though he's 18. I said, how do I owe people that don't understand me an apology? And he said, Dr. Keith, you need to apologize first for God to forgive you. And I said, then how do they know I'm genuine? And another student said to me, Kennedy, said, Dr. Keith, if you're genuine, it should only matter to you, not what they think. You only need to agree to disagree. I do mean this. I hate what has happened. I hate that we lost our other superintendent. We can play the playing game all day long. I thought he was going to stay. I'm hurt too. A lot of us miss him. But some of these things that are going out today and yesterday, they're almost vicious. And it hurts. It hurts people that this public elected that they knew could do a good job. This was a numbers thing. When we got down to 3, I begged them to do the Delphi. You and I went round and round, if you remember. I owe you an apology. I found out just how genuine you are. So whether you believe me or not, from my heart, I think this community spoke. And we can't look at what a handful of people have said. I think that's the problem. You only talk to a handful. Had you talked to each board member, you would have seen their hearts. You would have communicated. And this whole city, instead of being divided, just through communication, we would have understood where everybody is. So I apologize. I apologize, and I pray to God that whatever happens today, because I don't know, is the right thing, and we're going to move forward. I want to thank the preachers that came out today that didn't speak against us, but prayed. They prayed for us to get along, and they didn't choose a side. So thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
Dr. Joseph, since I was the subject a few moments ago, so I would like to speak. As I said in my email to you and when I talked to you on the phone, I'm still concerned because I still feel like the information that supposedly was a part of the background check should have raised concern, error, stop in my tracks, let's talk about this. None of that took place. None. Zero. And I still have deep concerns with that. And it wasn't one thing, it happened 3 times.
I missed 3 times,
So-
I'm sorry. What's that?
Hmm?
You said 3 times. I
There
don't
are 3
understand.
incidents. Okay, and we're not gonna even go into that because I see that the executive session was removed from that part of the discussion. But I say personally, I still have concerns. I have concerns with whatever process was used in background checks, Google search, or what have you. I did a Google search and didn't even know what I was looking for based on an email. And that popped up at the top. So that's all I have.
The only thing I could say is the background checks that were administered show that none of your candidates did anything illegal, unethical, had any charges ever on them. That's for certain in terms of a background check when you ask about the background check, and we stand behind the candidates that is clear.
And that's fine. And that's fine. And I will continue to say how I feel.
Sure.
And I will just also say that, the public has been concerned for a while. And they have reason to be concerned. And, as I stated, I think I told you this, I would have felt better had that, that was self-disclosed. I would have accepted it. It happened, fine.
Sure.
And I had a problem with the fact I had to go and search for it.
Yes, Ms. Cloud.
Thank you. I've listened to what everyone has said, and I have been afforded the opportunity to get text messages and phone calls, and had some really very good and productive conversations with my constituents. It started out a little unnerving for the person calling me, but I explained what you just said, that the background checks were done. What they're seeing is sensational, I wouldn't even call it reporting. We're seeing a smear campaign. And that in itself concerns me, because someone doesn't do that just because they've got a good heart and a good conscience. They do it because most of the time it's power or money. And I'm just putting it out there. I am very at peace with the process, and I want us to continue forward because we need to get this settled, and it does not need to continue to be unsettling. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more questions, discussion? No, this is the board meeting, and we have to keep things regulated to board business. At this time, if there are no other questions, thank you, Dr. Joseph. The board will go into executive session to discuss HYA CSFO candidate slates, and it now looks like good name and character. We should be in executive session approximately maybe an hour. During executive session, no votes will be taken. We will convene, no votes will be taken. All right, is there a motion to go into executive session?
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session to discuss good name and character as well as HYA CSFO candidate slate.
I second it.
It has been motioned and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All right, it is unanimous. All right. All right. What were you saying? Because of what came up in the meeting. If we don't need, we just don't need it. I just added it back on there.
We took it off because there's not two separate items.
Yeah, but she did, Erica told me, if I feel like we may need it.
Oh, yeah, you have to come back.
Yeah. And so if I go ahead and just tackle it now, have to get to that point, then go back, handle it one time. Oh.
Check. 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 Check.
like this help our students develop their confidence. You know, they spend so much time in the classroom practicing, and now they can actually showcase their abilities. And this allows us also to connect with our community as well, because then the community can see all the work that has been put in to nights like this and see what our kids have accomplished. And so then our community becomes invested in our students, we become invested in our students, and then they see us believing in them, which then allows them to believe that they're achieving at a high level.
With the preparation, we started maybe like 2 weeks ago. That's when we got the music, and me and my peers, Gabrielle and David, we basically practiced together in the band room after practice, long hours, as well as preparing for another event. Then we came together Saturday at Carver High School with everyone, and we practiced for about 9 to 12. And we just basically worked on the music, ran through any kinks or crevices wherever it was needed to be worked on.
I feel like tonight would be the perfect opportunity for students to display their talents outside of the classroom. It's almost a hub of creativity. You have artists here, you have musicians here, you have dancers here, singers here. The students get an opportunity to show what they really learn how to do in the classroom and display it to other students as well as their parents and other people who are coming out to watch them, and it's an amazing event.
Nights like this bring out the confidence in our students. They work so hard and diligently in the classroom to be able to produce and create such magnificent music and pieces that we just want to be able to showcase them and bring that confidence level up a whole notch of high expectations.
Most of us are performers, so it's interesting being on the other side of the creative process and being able to perform it ourselves as well. So it was really fun. It's broadening our horizons.
So the robotics program for Montgomery Public Schools started as a grant through Hyundai, and we are from under the grant now. This is our second year being funded through the school district, but they continue to be our partner and help sponsor the event along with Auburn SCORE. So we have robotics teams at all at 8 of the middle schools here in Montgomery. And today they're coming together to compete against each other in the district. And if they win today, they'll be going to state, which we hosted in Auburn at the end of the month.
I think that this is a great opportunity for us to skill build and also get students working with technology. We obviously know that in the industries that they'll be working for will be all about collaboration and technology. And so it's fun to watch our students as they collaborate together. They get roles, so you'll have team leaders, coders, drivers, and then critical thinking skills, being able to adjust and make decisions on the dime. Those are all really, really important skills that students need to be successful, but also great experiences for life.
So a lot of things that me and my team did to prepare for today, we practiced it with our other team that we're in alliance with. We all did game strategies and stuff, and we had worked on the robot, like different problems that we were having. We had made sure that we fixed them before we came to them. My favorite part about being on my school's robotics team is means that like I can represent them in many different ways for robotics.
Good afternoon. We're just so excited to host Dr. Mackey and his team. I've had a chance to connect with Mr. Wobbles, who is the Director of Department of Agriculture. And it's just really good for us to be able to partner with Sweet Grown Alabama Our students thrive off of healthy living habits. And so we want to make sure that we stay engaged with Sweet Grown Alabama to ensure that our students have healthy eating habits.
National School Lunch Week started with John F. Kennedy in the 1960s, and it was brought about to bring awareness to everything that the Child Nutrition Program does. Nationwide, we serve over 30 million students, and we just wanted to bring our initiative Farm to School, kick it off and start off with doing that in our district for this week. It started with a phone call from the Department of Agriculture. They wanted to increase farm to school activities in our district, and they selected us to do a test run and hopefully do it in the future.
And today, you know, we're featuring Alabama-grown products throughout Montgomery County at the Montgomery County Schools. So there's over 18,000 pounds of food today that will be served in the cafeterias in Montgomery County that came directly from Alabama farmers.
You know, one of the most important things we can do is help make sure our students are healthy. And being healthy means eating healthy. We want students to know where their food comes from. We're fortunate that in Alabama, agriculture is actually our #1 industry. Brings in more money to our state's coffers than anything else. And so students need to understand that this food comes from Alabama. Certainly we have food that's shipped in also, but it's all grown by farmers here in the United States. And
with the cafeteria, our students come together and they eat at the table. Parents are so busy now, and to have students experience family in the cafeteria, but not only experience family, but to have farm to school products.
Ooh, the perfect school lunch. Well, you know, you definitely in every meal you gotta have a good staple, so a good meat. So I'ma definitely go with some chicken, some grilled chicken, some seared or sauteed chicken, probably with mashed potatoes, some bell peppers, some fresh fruit, and not milk, but probably juice or water, but milk works too, because you need milk.
September is National Attendance Awareness Month. We want to share with you some important facts. The state of Alabama requires all children between the ages of 6 through 17 to attend school.
Parents, you are required to submit an excuse each time your child is absent. Be mindful that MPS does not accept excuses via fax or email. Also, parental excuses are limited to 8 days. Finally, if your child has a chronic illness, please submit a chronic illness letter from the physician. For additional information, please contact your child's school.
Track your child's academic progress and school attendance by logging into PowerSchool. Please make sure you have current contact information on file and respond to your school messages.
If you have any questions or concerns, please refer to your 2024-2025 school handbook. Feel free to call the Office of Student Support Services at 334-223-6850.
Attendance matters. Every day counts with MPS.
I've been coaching here for 9 years. I have just recently became the head coach in the past 2 seasons. Some of the most important values that we try to instill in the players is teamwork, accountability, communication, time management. I try to explain to the kids on and off the field that time management is a huge part of being successful here and in college and in life. Holding each other accountable to make the team better makes them better individually. I've had a lot of great coaches over the years. There has been one that I have played for and I have coached with, and she has taught me how to care for the players personally and athletically. It was Coach Chris Steiner, Leak. I played for her at AUM, and she coached here at Brewtech for 2 years. She was the head coach the year we won the state championship in 2023. And while she's hard on the players, she loved them, and she taught me how that there's a line where you can be hard, but also, you know, still show empathy and compassion for your kids. My most memorable moment since I've been at Brewtech is in 2023 when we won the state championship. We had a great team, barely any drama. You know how high school kids can be. They worked hard on and off the field. We didn't have to worry about their grades. We didn't have to worry about whether they were putting in extra work or not. The day we won the state championship, we had played 3 games the previous day and 4 games, including the 2 state championship games. We had a 6 or so hour rain delay, and we didn't get finished playing until midnight, and the girls had graduation the next day. So to see their heart and their drive and not wanting to leave for graduation or not wanting to give up in that 6-hour rain delay and having to play 7 games in 2 days, it was probably one of the best moments that I've been a part of as an athlete or a coach. This is Beyond the Locker Room, elevating the game one conversation at a time.
We will now convene the regular board meeting. No votes were taken during executive session. At this time, our next agenda item is our consent agenda. I'll now hand it over to our interim superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. I recommend for approval consent agenda items A through J.
The superintendent has made a recommendation for a motion for items A through J. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I motion that we accept items A through J on the agenda as the superintendent requested.
So
Second it.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the recommendation do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. All right, consider for approval, Madam Interim Superintendent.
Yeah, Madam President, I recommend for approval under consider for approval personnel report certified personnel.
There is a recommendation. Is there a motion? First, let's go through the motion and we'll come back.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve personnel report certified personnel.
All right, it has been moved and second. Any discussion? Ms. Cloud.
Sorry, I'm just very concerned. Again, we have another month with 12 retirees. I know it's coming to that time of the year. We have 10 resignations and 114 non-renewals. Out of those 3 areas, we have 11 special ed teachers, 3 from elementary, 5 from middle, and 3 from high that we're not coming back with. We are in desperate need of those special ed teachers. Have we had conversations? I know some are retiring. Have we talked to them? I'm just concerned that we're going to be in the same boat, that we're not going to have enough teachers for next year. And I'm just, it really concerns me because I keep looking at the numbers every month and we haven't had a lull at all. Thank you.
If I may, Madam President. So you do see a list of non-renewals. There are a plethora of reasons. I also want to point out that some of those are non-certs, and so there are some items that they have to complete at a certain date. We do continue to work with them and consult through leadership and also HR to ensure that they're able to complete items, and you will see them perhaps back on for approval to new hire then once those items are complete. But there are also some other items, other personnel issues that can be personnel reasons, but I do understand and have talked to Board President about the concern for special ed. I know that we are working very hard to retain quality teachers, and we want to make sure that we're providing them support. I did say that I will go back and talk to Ms. Jackson about the success of the job fair for special ed, but also some ways that we can kind of engage and look at how we can support more our special ed teachers who are new or non-cert and also going through the same process of some of the non-certs that are on here for K through 12.
On that.
All right, the superintendent has made a recommendation. It has been motioned and second. All those in favor of the recommendation do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous.
Madam President, I recommend under consider for approval personnel report classified personnel.
The superintendent has made a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the personnel report classified personnel.
Yes, it has been motion and second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the superintendent's recommendation, do so by a showing of hands. It is unanimous. All right. Give me just a second here. Everything works until you need it to work. Well, I want to say, and just give me 1 second to pull something up. We are at the next agenda item, the superintendent's selection. And I did want to offer some words of thank you to my board members for their due diligence and hard work in this process. And before we begin this, I know we've had discussion, but if you would like to just offer some discussion about, in a positive way, on the candidates, we look forward for you sharing that. But I wanted to share with HYA that we extend our sincerest gratitude for your collaboration and dedication throughout this superintendent search. We also appreciate your dedication throughout the superintendent search process and helping us to organize and get that process outlined. Your partnership has been instrumental in guiding us through this important journey, and we deeply appreciate the expertise and professionalism you brought to every step. Your team's effort to engage the community were both meaningful and impactful, with up to almost 1,000 surveys being completed by community members, 17 focus groups that you facilitated. We, along with you all, created opportunities for diverse voices to be heard. Stakeholders included community members and our teachers, administrators, our parents and students, our elected officials, ministers, and other valued contributors. This collaboration approach has ensured that the leadership profile was not only comprehensive, but it was developed truly to reflect the needs of the district, the values of the district, and the aspirations of our district. The input gathered throughout this process demonstrated a clear and shared desire for the Montgomery community, for stability specifically in leadership. The community has expressed a strong need for a transformed culture and climate within the district, one that is welcoming and inviting to parents, students, and teachers alike. This vision underscores the importance of fostering an environment of mutual respect, trust, and support, where all members of the MPS family feel valued and connected. Your guidance, HYA, and meticulous planning with the board have laid a solid foundation for identifying a superintendent who not only embodies leadership, vision, and experience, but also aligns with the community's hope for a stronger, more unified future. By prioritizing these shared values, we are confident that MPS will be positioned to achieve lasting success and create an educational environment where every child has the opportunity that they thrive for. We are immensely grateful for the dedication not only of this board, of the community, and all stakeholders, for your dedication and care. Your team, HYA, has demonstrated throughout this process one of hope, one of vision, and one of togetherness and unification. So thank you once again for your support and for helping us take this significant step towards building a brighter future for the Montgomery County Public Schools, along with our staff, as well as our students and teachers, but most importantly for our community. So at this time, if any board member would like to speak on something positive, the floor is now open. Yes, Ms. Dr. Key.
Madam President, I know I'm going to try to be short. Again, I want to thank Dr. Joseph and HYA for being so thorough. I mean, and I think the people, it means so much for the community to come out, especially city leadership, and Sykes. I mean, people that care about our community, the preachers, the ministers, everybody. I am people that ran, our PTA president is here, and I'm just pleased that everybody's here. I'm pleased that central office here. I'm pleased that security's here. But I want to pay special thanks to our president and our vice president, because there is not 1 minute that they did not let us know every second of what was going on daily. We never had to ask. We never had to wonder, where they're talking. We have a president today that I was just touched when she brought up the deaths, our student deaths. I was talking to one of my students the other day, and we were talking. I thought they were all millennials, because I said, "Oh, you're like my son. You're a millennial." They go, "Dr. Keith, we're not a millennial. We're Gen Z." And I said, "What's the difference?" And they said, "Don't you know? The millennials died of fentanyl and drugs." And I said, "Well, so what's the difference?" And they said, "Dr. Keith, we just shoot each other." That's sad. That is sad, because see, our weapons are words, and some of us in this community, including me, have used weapons as words, and what we don't understand is the people we hurt. The people we hurt people, it almost came across as there were people that were targeted. And whether it was meant or not, there were things that the media got out that were absolutely not true. And Dr. Joseph, if it were not for you that did 2 separate background checks, if it were not for this board that used the Delphi technique to use an anonymous technique, even down to the last 3 when I asked twice to use that Delphi, numbers don't lie. So I apologize to the public the way this process came out, because we didn't communicate. Had we as a whole, and I made this very clear with our president, when you just communicate with 2 board members, sometimes things can get convoluted. They told us everything. But see, we're out here bad-mouthing each other, and we've never shook a hand, we've never hugged, we've never said, "Hey, my name's Lisa Keith." But yet we're out there on the media saying, "Hey," and I'm one of them. And it is that alpha female that sometimes, I'll tell you this, and I tell my students this, the people that you are pulled furthest against, that you think is your enemy, really y'all are so much alike. You want the same things for our children, that if we just talked, and I hope from this here, as much as you may not want to talk to me, because I'll admit I'm that alpha female. I'm like that peacock. I apologize. I apologize that I didn't take the time, and I hope that I can listen to my student Brandon and do what he said. Go out there and meet, and I will have done my part. If you don't want to meet with me, don't meet with me. I think if we would have communicated as a whole, from the chamber to the mayor. I haven't met the mayor. I've met his dad and loved the dad. Met the mother at one of the things. I even bought into I was the one that said, "Hey, let's use this map," but I don't know the son. Okay, but all I'm saying is, I think had we communicated, we wouldn't be here. I want to thank y'all for coming out. Thank you especially, and our president and vice president. And I have to say this about Jamie. We have one of the best interim superintendents. We have one of the best interim CSFOs. I've met our technology guy. I love him because of servanthood. I just love this. We're moving forward, and I want the public to know. I used to speak bad about central office. I used to think it was friends and family and nepotism. It's moving forward, and it has been. And we just haven't talked about the good things enough. So I'm telling you, Montgomery's public school system, look at Dr. Cheryl Fountain and the things that are happening. Look at BTW. We've got one of the best interim. We've got Courtney Giles over there. We've got some great people and great students that are making, they're making leaps and bounds on this system. And I've never spoke about that. We've got one lady, Dr. Shanice Williams. I'm telling you, I'll leave it. I'm just telling you, that woman works hard. And we've got new people like Dr. King that is with us. I'm just proud of what we have. I'm proud of
of our communicator, Jade. I'm so proud of the people that we have, even from the state. I can't think of her name, but, you know, her husband's the treasurer, or we used to be the treasurer for the state, and we have her now working with our beauty parlor or whatever stuff. I'm just impressed with what we have, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Keys. Is there anyone else that would like, Dr. Coleman, anything?
Thank you, Leslie.
Anything positive about the candidates or process? Either one.
Oh, I will be happy to say that we did go through a process where we saw several wonderful, articulate, intelligent, highly qualified candidates that were brought before us. We are down to 2, and both gentlemen, as far as I know, are gentlemen with a heart, who have the qualifications, the certifications. Moving forward, if I understood what we are supposed to be talking about tonight, there is a candidate that has a wonderful set of experiences that focus on cradle to career, growing your own, building academies for professional development and training of individuals within the district to ensure that we keep our talent in the district. Transformational leader, innovative leader, and I hope that as we move forward, we look very closely at what each candidate brings to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Portis?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Being in this district over 30 years and working for different superintendents, I have never been asked my opinion. I've never been asked what I see in a leader or what a leader is to me. So when HYA offered that to us, I thought that was just the best thing I had ever heard. There were many at the schools I serve and other schools I visited where the employees were ecstatic about it because they had a voice. They got an opportunity to say, not a person, but a position. What this position means to me. How will it be advantageous to my career? How can I stay at Montgomery Public Schools? Well, I wanted to know a little bit more about not the people who stayed, but the people who left. There were people who left and went to other districts, and I asked them why did they leave Montgomery Public Schools, and they said, well, leadership. They were afforded the opportunity to train and do things that they didn't even realize they were qualified to do because they had a job. And when they left, they went to a place that created a passion for them. One of these candidates has created something in me that made me look past the job. What is not being said? What will happen? One of the things that our business community and our city, I hope they will respect the fact that as educators, there's a lot of arms to education. In a city where there are many things happening and violence being one, every grown person we lose is attached to a child. So now all of the lesson plans that the teacher created for that baby when that baby was feeling good now has to reevaluate the trauma in that child to be able to get them through the day. That's an education arm. We think about the business community. We think about the city. We want to work with everybody. We've got to figure this out because we've done with grown people what we don't even allow in children. We put children out of school for acting like some of us are acting. And you get out what you put in. We can't keep in school buildings telling them to bring your passion down and bring your voice down and get along when we don't model it. They do what they see. I don't care if you're a pastor, a teacher, a king, a queen, your behavior matters. And that's in all of us. And thanks be to God, we get a do-over. Because if we wake up in the morning, we get to think about what happened today and how we can change it. Whoever we bring in Montgomery County, if they're not supported fully, if they're not talked about in a good light, if they're not reverenced, if they went to school and learned all this stuff and know they have the passion for it and nobody supports them, it'll be a sad day for Montgomery County. And it won't matter who you bring in. It won't matter how many magnet schools. It'll be oppressed all over the district. Oppression doesn't belong to us. I love what Dr. Joseph said. Dr. Joseph wrote I had never seen a description of anything written with that kind of heart. And that was our clarion call. That's what we wanted in this district. That's what we said we wanted. But then we were in the streets and on the radio and everything, and it was embarrassing. I've been here 40 years. I went to DOD schools. I went to schools overseas in Japan where I was afforded to go with my dad. My mama was an educator. And my mother asked my sister and I, what would you do for free? And I said, well, I'll teach because I have some teddy bears and I talk to them all the time. She said, if you figure out what you'll do for free, she said, then you find out what you were put here for and what you were purposed. There's nothing else an educator can do but be an educator. It might be a good business person, but they're not going to be your best business person because they were created to do something different. We are all gifts and we are packaged differently. We cannot be judgmental. We have to be supportive of the package we get and work with it. I am looking forward to what we will do. IB was just the beginning. We have a long way to go, but we have some great kids to get them to their destination. They don't want to stand on the side of the street. They want to afford this life. And their parents want to. Who wants to take care of a child forever? No one. So we have to get them to a place where we're confident they can compete all over the world, and we do that by putting our judgments away and getting a leader that has a heart for these children. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Portis. Ms. Brown?
Yes, I will be brief because I was unfortunately not here for the entire process, but the parts of the process that I did was able to attend and be a part of. I appreciated the process. And I feel like one of the leaders has an edge over the other, in my opinion, in terms of innovation and the wealth of information that I saw in his documents, as well as the potential growth. I think that that person would be able to carry us from where we are and continue to climb. And I also had the opportunity to have a conversation with a couple of the candidates, and all of the candidates that were selected to move anywhere in the process. I think that they are worthy candidates. But however, two of the candidates definitely outshine the 10 that were presented. And fortunately, one of them still was standing in round 3. So hopefully the board will take serious consideration in what the wealth of knowledge and what this person has on paper and has in heart. And I think that if we actually consider comparison, I think that we'll make the right decision. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cloud?
Yes. During this time of difference of opinions, strong opinions, let me just share this with you. Jeremiah 29:11. I ran for the board. My slogan was building hope, building futures. I got that directly from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plan to give you hope and a future. That is what I want our children, our families, our communities to know that we are working to give them, because we are charged in this position by the Lord Almighty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mitchell.
I just have to say that we've been tasked with choosing a leader for our children as superintendent. We had some highly qualified people to look at, and we have two that are left. And we're about to make that choice. Whoever that person is, the citizens of Montgomery, the staff, the board, our political leaders, parents, and all of our stakeholders need to get behind that person and do what it takes so that our children can receive the quality education that they deserve. It's going to take good leadership, true enough, but a leader can't do it all. It's going to take each one of us doing that thing, that the gift that we have, putting that in, doing the hard work, making the hard choices. We may not agree with everything, but we must work together in unity. For the thing that I know is that a house divided against itself cannot stand. And we will not lose our children on our watch. It's us, the adults in the room, who have to make the decision to do the right thing, no matter what. And I believe that Montgomery is the city that will do that. Put our personal feelings and issues aside and move forward for the sake of our children.
Thank you. Well, last but not least, it is I. First, I cannot thank this board enough for just being so intentional in the work. It's not been easy. HYA gave us phenomenal candidates, and they were hard to choose. It was hard to make a choice between all of them. The comprehensive leadership profile was the thing that was standing. It was the constant. This is what the community wants. And I've been on the board, I think now I'm the second longest serving. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. And I've seen a lot of things. Been on here, got elected back in 2016 and sworn in then, and took my, before I could get in the seat and warm it up, I was looking at intervention, brand new, and having to learn very quickly about my role as a board member. But in every process that we've gone through, I've learned from each experience, because that's what we're supposed to do, right? You learn from your lessons. I'm a mother, 3 children. One graduated out of MPS. He's an engineer working here locally. He came back home and brought his skills back home with him. I have one who's a senior. That's going to be a tough day for me watching her walk across that stage. And then I have one more who's a 10th grader now. So we're still in it. I still have a vested interest in it. But not only that, and those in my community who know me, I'm everybody's auntie. So when they have problems, our interim superintendent and anybody else, you know, I bring the problems and say, help them. And that's what I got from the community is we want somebody that's going to be accessible to us as parents, as guardians, somebody that's approachable, that's going to hear our voices. And I think through the years, when intervention, well, looking back when intervention happened, those things were not available. That was the outcry at the time. We don't seem to be heard, or our voices are not valued, which is why we chose HYA and had this rigorous process. Because in our last superintendent search, the criticism was nobody asked us what we wanted. And so this time we were intentional to make sure to bring you into the folds to ask, what is it that you want in a leader? What is it you want us to consider as we're moving forward, choosing a leader that will work for this community, that will work for our students, and have a heart for our students? My campaign, not to bring that up, but my slogan was leadership focused on students. And I've always been committed and dedicated to that. And I also look at interims, superintendents sitting in the seat or potential candidates. Is it you want to come and work with our students? Are you intentional about the work? Do you care about our community? Do you want to be involved in our community? Are you going to do whatever it takes to make sure our students are successful, whatever level that they walk in that door at? Some are coming from homeless situations, foster care, one-parent household, two-parent households, poverty, mental illness, mental health concerns. Some of them have been incarcerated before. Can you be there for them? That's all I'm asking. When I read the profile, I saw the same thing. That's all they're asking for. So the two candidates before us are exceptional leaders. When I say have a heart for children, have a heart for children. And most importantly, they understand why they have to be accountable, why they have to understand, and why they have to make sure that their staff is held accountable. Because if we don't do good and we don't support these kids, we let so many people down. But the most let down group is our children, which is why we put their voices also in this process. But I am just so pleased, again, having worked with these ladies. You know, we may not agree, and I have four sisters, excuse me, and we don't agree on a lot of things, but we know how to come together when we need to. And you'll see this in this sisterhood, the same thing. We're not always going to agree. We're not catty. We are so passionate about what we do. But at the same time, we know how to circle back and come together to support one another and whoever we select as our new superintendent moving forward. So thank you, ladies. I truly can't say thank you enough, but I'm so appreciative of each and every one of you. So with that being said, is there a motion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you for your words. And with that, I move that we select Dr. Harold Wright as our next superintendent.
There is a motion to select Dr. Harold Wright for our next superintendent. All those in favor, do so. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need a second. I got so caught up and moved, y'all. I
second.
It has been motioned and second. Thank you. All those in favor, do so by showing of hands. Oh, it's been a long night, everybody. Discussion. Well, I think we really did the discussion, so that's why, yeah, I jumped over there so we could give our input. So if you will.
Madam President, because you are taking a motion on the floor and getting ready to take a vote, it is proper to have a discussion regarding that motion.
Okay, well, thank you. At this time, we are open for discussion. Thank you. Is there discussion?
It was protocol.
Oh.
I just thought it was protocol, so no.
Oh, okay, well, thank you. Every now and then, we all have to be redirected. And I appreciate that correctness. See, we do get along. It has been motion and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All right, that motion failed. Is there another motion?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to, I am honored to recommend Dr. Zacharias Byrd as MPS Superintendent.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to move Dr. Zacharias Byrd. Is there a second?
I second.
It has been motion and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All right, that motion, all those opposed? Any discussion? All right, at this time, we proudly announce that Dr. Zacchaeus Byrd has been selected for the Montgomery County, the Superintendent of the Montgomery County Board of Education. This meeting is now, well, before I adjourn it, our next meeting is May 13, 2025 at 5 o'clock. Immediately following this meeting will be a work session. This meeting is now adjourned. Okay. That's my work session, y'all. Okay. All right, our work session is, we are now adjourning for our work session. Today is April 8th, 2025. The time is now 8:14. This meeting is now being called to order. We do have an established quorum. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President, I did want to recommend, before consider for approval under agenda, that we remove item B under receive as information.
All right, the superintendent would like to amend the motion removing item B, MTSS data analysis, from the agenda. Is there a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation?
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation with the removal of item B.
I second it.
It has been motion and second. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands.
I thought we were going to have a discussion.
Is there discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
This item has been moved now the second time. We're here, we've got it ready. Why can't we go ahead with it? Because I would like to hear this data, because we're coming to the end of the school year, and this has already been put off one other time.
All right. Thank you for your discussion.
Thank you.
All right. It has been moved and second. All those in favor of accepting the superintendent's recommendation do so by a showing of hands. To accept the superintendent's recommendation with the removal. It's been motion and second. With the removal of item B under receive for information, MTSS data analysis. It has been moved and second. I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor do so by a showing of hands. All right. We have, what was it? We have 5 voted for, 2 against, 2. All those opposed, just so I can get it on the record. We have 1 in opposition. All those abstaining. Anyone abstaining? Okay. All right. Moving forward, our next piece of agenda item will be receive as information from Ms. Penn. Vocal update.
You hear me now? Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
We'll get right on into it. So this is actually our April update for the CIP building program. An overall snapshot of active construction projects, and then thank you for approving tonight's bid. We'll start reporting next month on the Percy Julian High School project. This is just, again, South Lawn Middle School, the gym addition. We're currently tracking at 65% overall project completion with an anticipated completion date in July of this year. Exterior picture, just to show really, kind of progress of brick pattern. We've got exterior windows that have been installed at the gymnasium. And this view is actually from Mobile Highway. A secondary exterior view to the left is actually the entry into the lobby concession area. And then straight ahead in the background, that's your secure connector for the existing building, and that connector takes you from existing building over to the gymnasium addition. We've got site utilities ongoing, roof installation is ongoing. Our main goal now is to dry in the building, get roof completed, and the building envelope completed with storefront and windows and doors. Just a reminder of our overall floor plan, and highlighted is just the areas within that gym addition, your secure connector, weight room, athletic locker room, restrooms, showers, and your gymnasium court. A couple of interior views. The one to the left is your actual lobby concession area, and then the one to the right is a view of your gymnasium court. Continued interior views of athletic weight room. And then the view to the right is actually if you're standing in the corridor between your locker rooms and your weight room. That's the view there. Moving into the athletic field house for Park Crossing, we are currently at 92% complete, and we've got a goal right now to try to get the building turned over by the end of this month. So we've got a big push on life safety items, overhead inspections. Your first exterior view, I just want to comment on just how exceptionally well the brick selected for the project. To the left-hand side is your entry point for the athletic field house, and to the right is the actual existing facility. So I feel like the architect design team did a really good job selecting. Mr. Anderson, he was also part of that selection committee, selecting brick in order to get it to match closely to the existing facility. And then just progress there. Again, we're pushing for life safety items to be complete, and that life safety inspection by the end of this month, and start moving into getting fixtures and equipment installed going into next month. This is just a secondary picture. I mainly wanted to try to highlight the back side of the building if you're facing the athletic fields. But in this particular picture, we had some underground storm drainage that had to be cut within the existing bus loop, and so this is just them going back and making that patch of asphalt. Again, another exterior view. The roll-up doors there to the right, that is a side entry for athletic students to come and go and have access to the athletic field. So just a really nice indication of what the building looks like on the exterior. Again, here's our floor plan for the field house and just highlighting kind of those areas for staff as well as students. Interior views, we've got athletic weight room as well as corridor, and currently right now we've got overhead mechanical systems being installed. Well, actually, they're wrapping that up. Those are installed. Your sprinkler pipe is being installed. We've got paint going in on the ceiling as well as on the corridors, and we're starting to move into doing polished concrete floor in the locker rooms. And these views, again, are just showing the final finishes being applied to the interior of the school. Another quick view, interior view, storefront installation at Coach's office and the conference room. View of your athletic film rooms, ceiling grids installed, light fixtures are installed, and again, just getting those overhead inspections completed and to the finish point for getting the building turned over. So for our next project that's currently in construction is the relocation of Todd Road. It was that phase 1 of what was needed in order to get Percy Julian High School started, make sure that it is tied in and connected so that we may vacate the existing Todd Road. And so currently we're 60% complete on that project. The biggest hurdle that we've had so far for Todd Road was that ALDOT permit getting approved and released. And so I'm happy to announce that we have received that permit. We have made the connection to the boulevard. We've also received the Montgomery Water and Sewer permit. That's been received and pipe has been installed. And so the contractor is now working. We're supposed to start Monday, but weather kind of delayed it. We're hoping to get asphalt placed by mid to end part of this week, going into next week. Curb and gutters installed. Again, a secondary picture of the curb and gutter. And so the next 2 slides is just to kind of wrap it up of, hey, this is what's to come. This is our, rendering of our new Percy Julian High School. Phase 2 is what we're calling it. We're really excited to get this project launched and the contractor mobilized and really start getting that building constructed. And then again, the new Capitol Heights Middle School will be forthcoming once we start construction on Percy Julian. Questions, comments?
Are there any questions? Comments? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item will come from Mr. Chad Anderson, facility update.
Good evening, Ms. Wilson, Ms. Watkins-Smith, Ms. Portis, and members of the board. Looking at our spreadsheet for capital projects, current capital projects, looking at the Morning View and Davis Elementary HVAC and windows renovation, we have bid dates for those. They're currently being advertised. Davis is set for the 17th of this month, and Morning View is set for the 22nd of this month. Those are capital grant projects that we receive money from the state for a portion of that. The other portion will be coming from ATF, and we should have that bid tabulations to you for the next board meeting. The Park Crossing turf and track, we've got no major new update. We're still waiting on the turf to be delivered. It was currently being manufactured. We hope to have that in the next week or two. All the sub base is in. We've cleaned the track off. They're making necessary patches on that. The turf will take about 20 to 30 days to finish and install, and then the track will take another 20 to 30 days to install from there. The Carver High School track and turf, we've approved that tonight. We'll get started on that immediately. It'll be the same process as what we went through with park crossings as well. And the Bellingrath emergency roof replacement, we're approximately 95% complete with that, with just little tie-ins to wrap up and finish with that roof. But coming to the very end of that one, should be substantial completion within before the next board meeting.
All right, any questions?
I have just one.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think I emailed you, but that roof at Vaughn Road is failing. You know, we have places that it's leaking. When that happens and it's been less than a year, we have some kind of warranty?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The warranty is kicking in on that. The architect's been over there. I don't think it's the roof. We think it's the drain, one of the drain areas in that, which we've had some trouble over there with some of their storm drainage and all, clearing that up. But Mr. Williams, our architect with the roofing side of it, is working on it. Yes,
Good,
ma'am.
I appreciate that.
I have a question.
Ms. Cloud?
I'm still real concerned about that classroom at Baldwin where the black is coming down.
Mhm.
I know you said, oh, it's nothing to worry about, but I really think it is. Because it's causing health issues for those children. They can't even go in that room now, and they needed to test during this time.
Yes, ma'am. I will check on it in the morning on with that, but I know they patched the roof. We're cleaning up the wall. It's roof pitch from the roof. It's not anything that is a health concern, and that is just a nuisance with it. But we'll check on it first thing in the morning.
Thank you, Chad.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, at this time, new business. I did not get any thing brought to me, but if at this time, if you do have new business and you'd like to bring it up, the floor is open to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had discussed a couple of weeks ago the fact that we would put our professional development reports on the agenda. And I'm going to assume it didn't make the agenda tonight because it was such a long agenda. And I can respect that. But I do believe that it is significant that when we do these professional developments for accountability to each other and our public, that we bring back reports of what we saw, what we did, how we could possibly implement our new learning in our district to help to improve and grow our district. I'm not going to try and give a report tonight, but I would like to give you and the secretary a copy of the report that I had prepared.
All right, thank you, and thank you for understanding
Thank you.
tonight. All right, so that will be on the agenda next month. All right, at this time, this meeting is now adjourned. Our next meeting will be May 13, 2025, 5 o'clock, regular board meeting, training room 1, immediately following the regular board meeting work session, also in the training room. This meeting is adjourned.